welcoming you Gooshbagz to the Week 7 edition of the 2021 Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League podcast. As always, I am your humble host, the commissioner of the Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League, Jason Peck. What a great week it was. I am here with a wonderful guest. It's been a couple weeks since I've had a guest on this show. Unfortunately, due to, people being on their honeymoon and me having a restricting schedule, only being able to record at certain times, we haven't been able to get another guest on here. But this week, we've got Rayo on. Woo! Where's the audience? There they are.
There's the audience. Thanks, guys.
Woo!
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be here, as always. But yeah, it's great.
Good. Yeah, as always, I love having any of you guys on. So it will be good to have somebody to talk to.
It's easier when you
banter
talk
back
to
and forth.
right?
Exactly. Yeah, it makes it much more fun and much easier. You're right. Less strain on the voice.
There you go.
So yeah, Rayo, we had a great matchup this week, and it would have been better. I'm just gonna lead right off with. It would have been better if one of us had competed.
Sometimes you make mistakes in life, and I made some mistakes this week. The mistake being not paying any attention to fantasy football for a week. We're gonna not make that mistake again now.
You know, if you had told me that you were busy or something, I probably could have gone in and edited up a little bit. I could have, thrown in the optimal lineup for your team.
You reminded me enough. I can't ask for anything else. But
I mean, sure I could have thrown in like Jared Cook, who was on bye, Mike Williams, who was on bye. There were options.
I think 5 people on bye this week.
I have a few guys on bye, so
now that I'm looking at it though, you're one game back. I don't like that, so now I got to start paying attention again. I was getting too comfortable out in front. So.
Yeah. Well, that was something I was gonna do that I haven't been doing ever on the podcast, is kind of going through the standings, and I realized that's a pretty major part of what we're doing here is knowing where people are in the standings. So this is race, but after I let you all know who won this week, which anybody who's listening to this podcast is already going to know who won this week, but I don't care.
We're going to run through it again.
Yeah, we're gonna do it in a proper order where we run through the matchups so I don't spoil who won and get the records thrown up here.
All right.
So that'll be fun. But first, we have to start off with the sad news. So, first off, well, it wasn't such a bad week for injuries this week, but there were a few that were relatively sad. We have Zach Wilson leading us off with a PCL sprain, I believe is the term. I don't know if that's a knee or if that's I think that's a knee. But he's out.
Should have had one of our PAs on. Tell you.
I know. I should have gotten some information from them before I came on the show.
That's fine.
That's my fault. I didn't do enough research.
I'm sure they'll know what's afterwards.
So that's 2 to 4 week injury apparently. We also have Malcolm Brown, who is out with a quad injury, and he was put on IR. So he's gone for at least 3 weeks. He was the backup there over in Miami. So, that might mean more work for Myles Gaskin. Who knows? But unfortunately for him, he's out for the next 3 games. The third and final addition to this injury report is Miles Sanders, who has an ankle sprain of some sort. I'm not sure what the grade is or how serious it was, but I think he was for sure going to be out for like maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So time to pick up the backups. Kenneth Gainwell, or are you going to pick him up right now? Are you going to be doing some searching?
No. I'm just reorganizing my screen.
Oh, there you go. Boston Scott. I just saw you having some activity. I thought you were going to do a sneak grab him off the waivers before anybody else does.
That would have been a good idea, but I figure, the podcast is podcast time. I can run out immediately afterwards. I can start sprinting around.
It's fantasy football time, man. Anything goes
That's a good point.
Good point. But yeah, so we'll leave the sad news behind now, and we'll move on to the unfortunate happy news. The happy news is that Chad got the highest score for the second week in a row. So congrats.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So we have to do something about that, but
I know. Well, I'm playing in this week, so maybe I'm gonna have to change that.
Jason,
that's my goal anyway.
Jason, so. I hope you win, but just this week.
Oh,
first time I've ever said that.
That's the first time you've ever said that. That is a podcast exclusive.
It's podcast exclusive. I'm not going to say it outside the podcast.
And I can't even tell anybody that it happened until after this episode comes out. So you guys will hear this tomorrow. But just know that I slept well
huge news. Huge
hearing that he wants me to win this week. That is
just once. Just this week.
You know what? Unfortunately, I don't think I can say the same in return because I have to catch up in the standings right now.
I understand. Really, from a standings point of view, I still don't want you to win. But from I don't want Chad to feel good about his team. I want you to, Exactly. I figure, down further in the standings below me, I'd like to point that out. Below me, if I figure the more infighting that happens, the better off I am. Right? I'm confident in my team. If you guys start messing with things that you don't need to mess with, I figure it'd be better for me. So
to be honest, with how good Chad's team has started to look right now, the last few weeks, obviously any loss coming his way, I think would be better for all of us. So
that's also true.
So Chad, I will get you your $10 when I remember next, either today or tomorrow, probably. Sometimes I've given people their $10 the next week, but I'll try to remember to get it to you. Either way, I don't think I've left anybody without their $10 so far this year. So on that note, let us move on to our matchup this week. So we've obviously had a little bit of a preview of how this matchup went this week. It's Owen Tree versus Rock the Hawk. And Owen Tree put up 134.14 fantasy points. To Rock the Hawks 110.88. Like we said, we were kind of piecing this out a little bit earlier. You had yourself a Kamara on the bench who put up, 28 fantasy points?
It was a lot of points. It was more points than I was happy seeing on my bench. Which, really, any points on your bench make you unhappy, but above, especially above, 15, 20 is not great.
That's very true. Yeah, you had, like you said, you lost by 24. You would have gotten an extra 14 or so from Kamara.
Yep.
And piecing together some sort of tight end or defense might have gotten you that extra 10 points.
Might have done something.
You never know. Yeah. But we never will. But some people were sad that they did start a defense this week, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Anyway,
really, it was actually a strategy, Jason, just so you're aware. I figured I'm taking a huge risk, put a defense up. So
yeah, if you would have grabbed somebody like the Ravens defense this week, who looked like they had a pretty good matchup against Cincinnati, but
it would have been a mistake.
It would have been a mistake. You would have had an extra 6 points to make up for. So, so it's a good thing you didn't. You're right. All strategy.
Clearly, yeah.
But the good news that came out of this is that I am above 500, boys. You know what? I started Owen Tree, hence the name, and I've won 4 in a row. So let's go. I am stoked. My team has not. Obviously, I have not won a week yet. I have not put up the most points on any week yet.
Eight. All that matters is the record. That's how football works.
That's true. It's just. That's what I'm saying. I've been consistent. I haven't scored below 100 points. I've been sticking in that 100. This is my highest scoring week, but sticking between 100 and 120 was my sweet spot. It was gonna come around where somebody was gonna score 90 on me, So you didn't score 90, but I was able to
had a solid week. We were able to pull off W. Proud of you, Jason. Good job.
So. Yeah, the studs on Owen Tree. We had Damian Harris, who put up 24.3 points off of the bench for many weeks on my team. We weren't even sure if he was going to be a starter for a while there in New England. He put up 24.3 against the Jets, I think. It was a terrible defense. That's why I played him. And then, and also because I didn't have James Robinson because he was on bye. But we also had Michael Pittman Jr., who also came off of, I believe, no, he just was, he was getting more and more targets because of all of the injuries on his team. 18.5 fantasy points. Now, both of those guys are no longer on my fantasy team. I traded both of them away for A.J. Brown this week. Boom! Dude, that was great. I felt good about that trade.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, like you said, maybe it might have been a mistake.
You never know. You can't know unless you do it, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, Michael Pittman is looking great, but I traded him because T.Y. Hilton's coming back, and the one game that T.Y. Hilton was back, I think T.Y. Hilton was back for like 2.5 quarters or something, and then he got kind of injured again. But Michael Pittman only had like 2 catches for like 20 yards during that span. So like, I'm kind of scared what'll happen once T.Y. Hilton comes back. I think that Michael Pittman's kind of going to be pushed down the list there. And this way I don't have a running back and wide receiver stack. I have Jonathan Taylor, so I don't have the wide receiver stack there. But I'm excited because I think A.J. Brown is only going to get better here. And my team is going to be a force to be reckoned with moving forward, I think.
If you say so,
In the duds category, I only had one kind of dud this week, Brandon Cooks, who got me 4.6 fantasy points. So not great, but he was also playing, he's the only fantasy relevant player on his team, and they were playing against, I think, the Cardinals. Yeah. So that was a bit of a rough matchup. So I can't be too angry about that in general. But we will move on to your stud. Singular this week.
Singular.
And you offset. You did, yeah. Well, you know what? You offset my quarterback though. That was your plan all along. I had Tom Brady playing. You had the Mike Evans, who got the better end of that deal. I'd say.
Yeah.
That's what happens when all the other pass catchers are out on the team. So he had 28.6 fantasy points for you. And how you feeling about Mike Evans going forward, huh?
I like Mike Evans. He's done well for me in the past. That's kind of my feeling as a fantasy football manager here is Mike Evans has always had a lot of upside, and he's been able to put up points when he can. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a tough time with Mike Evans.
He's busted for sure. Like there's no question about that. But it's more fun to put up more points. So that's my thought process here.
Yeah, no, I think that's been my downfall though in fantasy football is I always shoot for those consistent players, but they're not always the high upside guys.
I don't know if it's really a downfall though. It's probably a solid strategy. It based on the fact that we have $10 a week for the highest scorer, maybe that part of it isn't gonna win you there, but holding yourself through a season, that's probably a reasonable idea. You're not going to get to the playoffs, have half your players bust, and then drop after a week, right? So,
yeah, that's true. I mean, like Benai always says, like you just got to get to the playoffs.
Just got to get the playoffs and see what happens. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, yeah, if you're just trying to win your money back on a few good weeks, like great weeks during the season, that might be a good strategy.
But also, it does seem to get me to the playoffs on a relatively regular basis. So hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, like you said, Mike Evans is that boom bust guy, but he always ends up with ends up in the top 12 with like 1,000 yards, and he's always guaranteed like 6 or 7 touchdowns at least. So, so yeah, I mean it's hard to argue with Mike Evans, but I always have a tough time pulling the trigger on him.
Hey, that's why he's on my team and not yours. That's just how it goes, Yeah,
that's very true. In the duds category, it's the only ones that it's the boneheaded moves that you didn't make, essentially.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate.
Which, to be honest, I was almost waiting for you to drop the Bills D, which I don't know if you would have done. But like, so say you were looking at your lineup Sunday morning and you were like, hey, I need a defense. Would you have dropped the Bills D to pick up a defense?
I might have. I'm not 100% sure where I would have been on Sunday morning. I was asleep on Sunday morning. So that's why nothing occurred on Sunday morning. I'll be 100% honest there. But yeah, I don't know. I probably not. But then again, I don't know who I would have dropped to pick that up. So
right, that's the thing. It's weighing who's on your bench versus
the possibility of a few points for defense.
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially with somebody like now, you look forward. I don't know if you take a look at their next 3 matchups here. The Bills, they're playing against Miami, Jacksonville, and the Jets.
I'll take it.
So that's why I was like, I kept watching your lineup. I was like, is he going to drop the Bills D? Is he going to drop the Bills D? And I was going to go pick him up.
You're going to stash him up as soon as you can.
Oh, yeah. And because I was looking forward to these next 3 weeks, man.
Right.
But that's fine. Now you're set up for the next 3 weeks, even though you took the L this week.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said,
it was a rebuilding week, Jason.
Rebuilding, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you're getting the team healthy again and ready for the second half of the season.
Good bye week for half-bye players.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, you had Gronk who was hurt and didn't play, and then Kamara was sitting there on the bench. I almost consider that a dud because it's a 14 point.
That's a fair dud to place there. Yeah. So really, the dud this week was me. None of my players were duds. It was me.
Yeah, Rayo was the dud this week.
That's pretty accurate.
All right, we will lay off of you. Oh wait, no, I told you I was gonna tell you. No, I got one more thing for you.
Oh okay. Oh yeah.
I told you I was gonna use that on you today.
You did.
So
I appreciate
it. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna move on now and stop bothering you about your inactiveness last week, and we are going to move on to matchup number 2: Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba versus Deshaun's Happy Endings. Now, it wasn't even close. It was a massive destruction of one team. Deshaun's Happy Endings put up 156.66 fantasy points to Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba's 95.1 fantasy points. Now, you take a look at these, Courts has had such good luck with these fill-in running backs over the past few weeks, we thought he was going to have another great week this week when Ernest Johnson went off for 24 fantasy points, on Thursday night. But then the rest of his fill-in crew didn't really do the job this week. He had Chuba Hubbard, who only had 7 fantasy points, which isn't terrible, but Darrell Henderson against Detroit, you think that's a smash matchup for a very good running back, only 7.9 fantasy points. And then I don't know why, but he played Darnell Mooney for 4.9 fantasy points. And that kind of headlines his team. Like everybody else was kind of just average. The Rams D only got 3 fantasy points against Detroit, which is almost kind of a dud in itself. But on the other hand, we have Deshaun's Happy Endings, who basically everybody put up a great game. We have Matt Stafford put up 27 fantasy points. We have DeAndre Swift with 24.4 fantasy points. We got Kyle Pitts in the tight end spot. He's looking good, man. Kyle Pitts. It's kind of scary. He's lining up as a wide receiver for 75% of his plays. He's going to be a danger to have in the tight end spot this year.
Jason, as commissioner, you should move him to wide receiver.
Yeah, just make him only wide receiver eligible and not eligible. I should. Mm-hmm. That should be a thing that I do.
Yep.
Look out, Chad. You're gonna have
to... we can't let you get 3 weeks in a row, Chad.
Exactly. And then Cooper Kupp is out here with 32.6 fantasy points, like always. He's only had 1 or 2 bad weeks, but other than that, he's been a monster. So I mentioned trading Cooper Kupp at one point to him, and he just flat up turned me down for anything that I could have. And at that point, I still had Dalvin Cook, so anything I could have offered him, he was not a big fan. And then in the duds category, Marquez Callaway putting up 4.7 fantasy points. He just needed a fill-in there at the wide receiver position. And I'm sorry, if you would have put in somebody else there, let's see, who did he have? I mean,
looking at his bench.
Yeah, he didn't have anybody really.
No, not really.
Jacoby Myers actually
did get more points.
Did get more points, and Hunter Henry actually. So if he had moved Devonta Smith up to the wide receiver,
yep, and then put Hunter Henry in the flex.
But he got you a couple extra points there.
Mm-hmm.
And
come on, Chad, you got to get more than 156. Like
I was gonna say, I don't want to spoil anything, but that would have put him close to 160 fantasy points, and that might become relevant later in the show.
Oh,
you never know. Anyways, yes. Once again, congratulations to Chad.
Congratulations, Chad. I'd like to point out for everyone who doesn't have Jason's script in front, or not script, Jason's outline in front of them. It says "congrats" in all lowercase letters in the script, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah. 2 weeks in a row. ... Congrats. If I could, I should have made that a subscript or like a
just a superscript, really tiny.
Yeah, something small.
You can do. I think you can do nested superscripts in Word, so you could probably get it real tiny.
Superscripts,
dude. I know you can do them in Teams, so I don't know if you can. Or not in. I know you could do them in. What do they call that? Skype for Business. So I don't know if you can do them in Word.
I'd have to think.
We'll try it later.
Yeah,
not important right now.
No, that's pretty important. Anything is important and relatively relevant. I'll start moving on to the next matchup. We'll see if you can do a super scripts. On to matchup number 3. We got Ain't No Waller Back Girl versus my tight end Ertzwin Eifert. Now this one was a close one. Can you do it? I see your reaction. No. Only one superscript, not 2 or 3 or 4. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is.
Anyways, we had a close one here for matchup number 3. My tight end Ertzwin Eifert squeaked by with about a 1.5 differential. He scored 103.74 fantasy points to 102.26. Now, something to keep in mind here, these are mostly lower scoring weeks. I know the first 2 weeks we had, or first 2 matchups, we had 130 and 150. But the rest of these are not going to be so high because we had the bye-apocalypse. If you guys don't remember for some reason, there were like 100 teams on bye. So so this was close, and both teams scoring over 100 points, like kudos. So we had my tight end Ertzwin Eifert pulled out the victory over Ain't No Waller Back Girl, which I think I prefer. Now I think I picked it.
Okay, all right.
Did I pick it?
I don't know.
Oh no. Oh no, I'd have to go back and look at last week's. I have the number I got right out of 5, but I don't have
what your picks were
last week. Anyways, I mean, I also prefer it because if Aaron can get a couple of dubs, even at the expense of, I guess Neil and him went into the week with the same record, so I guess they're both kind of behind, but. Anyways, we'll go to the studs on my tight end Ertzwin Eifert. We have Jalen Hurts, which is really the only stud I could kind of find. He put up 23.54 fantasy points, and he is one of those guys that you do not like to watch in real life football, but he always ends up getting you like decent fantasy points. Sure. He's just like the team does not do great, and he does not look great out on the field. But because he runs the ball and because he has to throw the ball so much, he ends up with some fantasy points at the end.
I know I'm not one to talk about team names because I still need to change mine. But it occurs to me.
That's right. Yeah, geez, you don't even have Hawk on your team anymore.
Exactly. It occurs to me that Buck has Jalen Hurts. He can very easily change his name. His team name to Hurts because he doesn't have Ertz anymore.
He also does not have Eifert, so
he doesn't. You're right. Okay.
This
Maybe
is a rollover team name from last year, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I think it's hilarious because I think it's the best when throughout the whole podcast Jason refers to them as my TE hurts when I hurt. But yeah,
it's definitely a fun one to say.
I'll definitely miss it if it goes away. So
yeah, well, he'll have to replace it with something just as good.
Yeah. Standard's been set really high. So
what if you named your team Drop the Hawk?
That would be good. It's a good idea. I like that, but also I didn't drop him. I traded him. So.
Yeah, but
I mean the concept stands, but I think I'll come up with something with some
Hawk the Hawk.
That's really good actually. That's like really smart.
I don't know. That's the word that
came.
You know,
if
like
you hawk something, you're selling it.
Yeah, that's true.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Hawk the Hawk.
Hawk the Hawk. Maybe a new team name next week. Who knows?
Might be. We'll see.
In the duds category for my tight end Ertz, Miles Sanders, who the running back for Jalen Hurts, always surprised when you go with the quarterback running back stack, and it doesn't always work out for you, as you can see here. Miles Sanders only got 3.2 fantasy points.
Got to make sure they're a receiving running back to make that work.
That's true. Yeah, I guess Adam is doing it. He's got the Zeke Dak stack. But you know,
yeah.
Even then, like he doesn't receive that much. Zeke, he does some, but
no, but also it's Zeke. I mean,
it's Zeke. Yeah, I mean,
there's a difference there.
Top five running back and top five quarterback probably ish.
Fun fact: Zeke is the best Ewok to ever play football.
The best Ewok. That's good. Oh man, I didn't think of that, but his hairstyle,
dude, it looks exactly. I'll send you a picture at some point.
All right.
I mean, you put a face.
No, you put
his
beard.
face.
Yeah, exactly.
They both go kind of out.
Yeah, out with the hair and then the beard. Yeah, it's I'm sure it's great. That's what I should go as for Halloween this year. the beard.
You're getting a nice beard. I like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to incorporate it somehow into I have not picked out a costume for this weekend, so I'm gonna have to figure something out.
I may be in the same boat. So,
so we'll see. We're gonna have to get the creative juices flowing here in the next couple days. But back to fantasy football.
If you check your Facebook Messenger, it'll be please.
Here we go. I'll show everybody.
Okay.
There it is. There. Emma, can you see it all?
Yeah, I can see it all.
All right, great. Looks good. It's perfect. It's exactly the same. All right. Back on track here, Ryle. Let's go. We're gonna focus now.
Focus. We'll get the rest.
We got the studs of Ain't No Waller Back Girl. We got Derrick Henry with 23.8 fantasy points, which, to be honest, I considered putting him in the duds category because he's not over 30 fantasy points this week, which is kind of what you're expecting from Derrick Henry at these days. Although he did throw his first passing touchdown. Ever. So that's great.
Big news for him.
Yeah, he didn't score a rushing touchdown at all, but he did throw for a passing touchdown. So good for you, Derrick Henry. Congratulations for expanding. I think
I think you could put that in duds because I'm looking at this. I think you mistyped there. He got 15.4 points this week.
Oh, did he really? Did I just not change?
You typed in the projections number.
Oh, that's what I did. Yeah. That's what sucks. I'm looking at
I don't know why they've done it this way.
Next to each other.
It's such a bad way to set this up for past weeks. It should be stats and then points.
It is. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should not have the projections up there.
That's kind of dumb.
But that's unfortunate. Anyways, so he had what'd you say, 15.4 fantasy points. So he doesn't even belong in the studs category.
No, he doesn't belong in the studs category. He belongs in the standard average category.
I was looking at all of these guys' projected numbers, so I didn't put Terry McLaurin in, even though he deserves to be in there. Terry McLaurin scored 21.7 fantasy points. So a good game from Terry McLaurin.
Good job, Terry.
Debo was right on the edge. I put 18 fantasy points for running backs and receivers but 17.5 is up there. It's at least
solid week. Yeah.
So Debo had a great week as well. And in the duds category, we had our first wait a minute. The first goose. It's a goose. Darren Waller, because he didn't play this week. I guess it's technically not our first goose if we're considering him not playing as a goose because,
Yeah, well,
in there, but
we'll take it. I figure when you get the first goose that someone plays and gets 0, you should put like a little splat at the end of the sound effect for the egg dropping.
I'd have to look into combining those two.
You could probably just do one and then the other.
A splat. That's true. I could time it up. And then something that's, I'm almost considering the Ravens like a goose this week, but they're worse than a goose.
Yeah. I don't know if a defense can ever get a goose because a 0 is just like a.
That's true. It's just kind of not great week. Yeah.
There's technically no lower limit to what a defense can get. So yeah. I think once it gets below a -10, you can start counting it as a goose egg.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
I've never seen a defense at a -10.
I haven't either, but I mean -6 isn't that far away.
We had a -8 earlier this year.
Pretty close.
But not -10. Yeah. Actually, wait a minute. Didn't the Patriots put up like 60 points this week? Who did they play against? Right. Yeah. Now I have to find this. Who did they play?
Who had someone on the Patriots?
Had to have been like the Jets.
They put up 54 against the Jets, yeah.
All right, where's the Jets defense? They had 3 fantasy points?
Did they get like
-11.
-11, there you go. The Jets did put up a goose.
They got the goose.
It's possible.
There it is. That was weird. Oh, it just has their projection for next week. It usually it has like their previous week's number.
Mm-hmm.
But it has their projection and then their 2021 overall. I don't know, something screwed up on their defense, but it's not showing the -11 in their normal. Anyways,
it's too sad to show.
It was so surprised at how terrible.
Yeah, right. 8-11.
Oh no! All right, we got you. We got you back. We almost lost you.
Oh no, that would be bad.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we. -11. Anyways, that's terrible. Good thing nobody started the Jets.
That's not good for the Jets defense. They got 2 negative weeks in a row.
Yeah, well, they are a bad defense.
That's true.
And people are wondering why the Jets aren't winning weeks. All right, on to matchup number 4. We got Ferris Bueller, You're My Hero, versus Waddle, baby, Waddle, baby, Waddle, baby, Waddle. Now, the one thing I gotta say about Ferris Bueller, You're My Hero, is he only scored 87.84 fantasy points. Now, like I said, it was a tough week, lots of buys. I don't know if your team had lots of buys. Let's take a look. Did his team have lots of buys?
He had 3 buys.
3 buys. Okay. Nobody that important. He had Najee Harris, who's the only big name on a buy on this team.
I don't know what you're talking about. Chris Boswell is a huge buy for him.
Chris Boswell is a massive hit.
Yep.
He's had Young Ho Koo in his lineup the whole year. So why the heck does he have Chris Boswell on his team?
When's Young Ho Koo's bye week?
It was week 6. So he
I don't.
6 and then should have dropped him again, but didn't.
Yeah. Well, James, if you're listening, drop Chris Boswell.
Also, James, pick a new hero because this team name is not working for you. Anyway, I never said Waddle Baby's fantasy football finish. They had 121.34 fantasy points, so pretty good in a massive bye week, and you got the dub. So we're going to start with the Waddle Baby. We got Jamar Chase putting up massive numbers like always. He had 30.1 fantasy points this week, and he's just been a monster. He was part of that Baltimore defense putting up -6 fantasy points. It was mostly his fault. Oh, I forgot to say, Neil, your team lost because you started that defense. You lost by You lost by 1.5, and they got you -6 fantasy points.
He should have taken a page out of my book. Just don't start a defense.
Yeah, I should have started the Bills D. What were you thinking?
Simple.
I always hate that logic because, like,
it's bad logic.
D,
it's horrible logic.
I know. I hate that, but
on average, a defense makes points.
Gets you points, right? So, yeah, just pick a better D next time. You should know not to play somebody against the Bengals now. They've been decent.
Yeah.
But anyway, there were no other like duds on Waddle Baby's team. He did have Devontae Adams put up 16.6. Kyler Murray had just over 20 at 21. Everybody else just kind of had solid weeks and no real duds. I was kind of surprised that you put in the Falcons defense against Miami. That did surprise me. Falcons D has been terrible this year, and they only scored you 3 fantasy points. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, otherwise it was just kind of a solid game all over for his team. On the other hand, we got quite a few duds over on Team Ferris Bueller. You're my hero, and not to mention your is spelled Y-O-U-R, not your as in you are, your as in your.
Maybe that's the reason it hasn't been working. If you correct the spelling, maybe it'll start working.
Grammar mistakes, man, they'll get you everywhere.
Oh, for sure.
So the only studs on your team, you did have Chris Godwin, the counterpart to Mike Evans there. The only 2 passing options for the Bucs this week. So he had a good week with 21.1 fantasy points. And then the Bucs D also helped you this week with 18 fantasy points. So that works. And I'll throw in Younghoe Koo, who had 12 fantasy points. That's a decent week for a kicker. In the duds category, we had one massive dud. A.J. Dillon putting up less than a goose as well. He had -0.7 fantasy points. So it makes me sad I can't even put the goose noise for him, but
yeah, but
it's close, man.
He doesn't.
Very close.
Negative points don't even deserve the goose.
No, it's like a middle of the road sort of deal.
Yeah.
Like almost terrible, but like not 100% terrible.
Yeah.
And then I'd almost throw. I mean, he started both of the Green Bay running backs this week, and neither of them had a really great game. Aaron Jones had 6.4 fantasy points, and I didn't throw this in the sheet, but Patrick Mahomes only had 7.74 fantasy points, and he played most of the game. He did get hurt near the end, but he played a good 3.5 quarters and only scored 7.74 fantasy points against what most people thought was a bad Tennessee defense, but they destroyed the Chiefs this week. Like, that was kind of a crazy game. So yeah, I mean, just a rough game overall from Ferris Bueller / James's team. So I think with that, we're just gonna I'm gonna give him that. But it's not as bad as these next 2 teams. Chip number 5. Okay, I shouldn't say that because one of them did outscore James. Hot Diggity Dog versus Team IR. Now, this was a barn burner, the matchup of the century. We had neither of these teams broke 90. Hot Diggity Dog scored 89.24 fantasy points, and Team IR put up 83.04 fantasy points. And also,
dude, the sound effects are great.
I know. I had to throw in as many as I could here this time. So anyway, this was a barn burner for sure. Hang on, I'm getting you back. I'm getting you back. We keep losing you. I think
You keep losing me?
Yeah, I think it's my internet. I think it pops in and out.
It might be yours. It also might be mine. Ours has been questionable. So.
All right. Well, we'll see. We're gonna keep fighting through here
and see if we
can make it. So the studs on Team IR. I'm proud to say I stole his only stud this week. However, he did steal my 2 studs from this week, so I can't feel that bad.
It's a stud AJ for stud Brown, trade.
Stud for stud trade. AJ Brown, who put up 23.3 fantasy points for those Tennessee Titans. In the duds category. Oh, by the way, he was sick. Or this was like a Michael Jordan flu game sort of deal.
For AJ Brown?
Yeah, well, I think actually last Saturday he got food poisoning, and he felt like 2 Saturdays ago, I should say. So the week before, he had poisoning, and he was questionable to play on Sunday, and he played. He did all right. He didn't do great. Mm-hmm. And then on Wednesday this last week, he was Wednesday or Thursday, he was like, I can't keep anything down. I'm still throwing up from this food poisoning.
That's horrible.
What? Yeah. And so but he put up a massive week this week. He must have been able to eat some food on Friday and Saturday or something. Yeah. But yeah, he powered through and had a great fantasy day and a great real football day.
Yeah.
The Jets had Odell Beckham Jr., who should not be in a lineup anymore, with 3.3 fantasy points, and likewise Sam Darnold, who should also not be in a lineup anymore, with 2.44 fantasy points. Now, you need to get him out of your lineup. I don't know what you're doing, but there are 10 better streaming quarterbacks right now.
This is a puzzling lineups that he's got here. Yeah.
He's still got Sam Darnold in his lineup.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's what all I'm gonna say about that.
I can go find 10 people on the waiver wire right now who will give you a better week than Sam Darnold will this week.
I may have done that because my quarterback's on bye next week, so I may have done that literally half an hour ago before the podcast started.
There you go. You're smart people, smart things. Except when they don't. So
we try.
That's really all I got to say about Team IR. I mean, the rest of his team also just did not do great. I mean, he had a couple of good games from his running backs, Josh Jacobs and Khalil Herbert, but everybody else was just kind of meh.
Yeah. I like Adam's team with 5 players on bye this week.
That was rough. I mean,
who had the most players on bye this week?
Adam, I'm pretty sure, had the most players on bye, and I'm proud of him for getting the win this week.
Neil had 4. I'm just clicking through these real quick.
Yeah, for sure. Let me know if you find anybody who has more.
Courts had 4. And I also had 4. Technically, I had 6 if you count my IR bench, but that doesn't really count. So,
yeah, I mean, Adam had it pretty rough.
Yeah,
I know people had it rough, but Adam had his whole starting roster was on bye. His subs were not on bye; it was his starters.
Yep.
Stephon Diggs, Austin Eckler, Zeke, Keenan Allen, and Dak Prescott were all on
painful.
Bye.
That's a painful week.
It is. So he powered through, though. I was proud of him. I told him earlier.
Congratulations, Adam.
Yeah, I was proud of him for putting a lineup together. So good work.
Did a better job than I did.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't score more points than you did.
But he did a better job than I did.
But he did win.
Yeah.
So that's all that matters.
As we've discussed, a W is a W.
Exactly. So, I mean, in the studs, we've got Nick Folk, I'll say, was pretty good with 14 fantasy points. We had the Cardinals D put up 11. That was pretty decent. And then Elijah Mitchell was pretty close with 16.7 fantasy points. So that was decent. In the duds category, I don't know why you started Allen Robinson. I mean, I guess I do. You had 5 people on bye. And then Antonio Brown was hurt. So I do understand why you started Allen Robinson, and I'm sorry that you had to, but I'm glad I got him off my roster, so that's good. Essentially, if you think about it, I turned Allen Robinson into A.J. Brown.
That's a good way to think about it.
I traded Allen Robinson in a trade for Michael Pittman.
There you go.
And Pittman, I just traded up to get A.J. Brown. Of course, there were other pieces involved, but, one for one.
We're going to ignore that.
And now I have a house.
Yep.
Yes. So there's that. Like I said, there wasn't a great matchup this week, but Adam did get the dub with 89 fantasy points, so congratulations.
Good job, Adam.
Yes. All right, now I'm going to go into I don't have them on the sheet here, but I was just going to go through the standings really quick because I wanted, after we go through who won each week, I wanted to let you guys know who was doing well in each conference. So in the East Conference, we have Waddle baby, topping the leaderboard here at number 1 in the East with a 5-2 record, and he has an 83% chance of making the playoffs according to ESPN.
Ooh.
Now, what's very interesting is that Hot Digsy Dog is in second place with 4-3 record, but has an 89% chance of making the playoffs. Somehow has a higher percentage chance than the guy who has a better record than him.
Hey, you just got to trust the process.
Trust the process, exactly. In tied for second place, and I'm only 0.06 points behind Adam. Otherwise, I would be higher than him in the standings. Is Owen Tree at 4-3. We both have 816.5, and he has 0.56 fantasy points for.
Jesus.
I know, that's very tight. Very tight.
That's extremely tight.
Yeah. I have a 65% chance of making the playoffs. Ferris Bueller, you're my hero. Oh, sorry. Ferris Bueller is not my hero, but Ferris Bueller is James's hero.
Is possessively James's hero.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He has a 4-3 record as well, with only 765 points and he has a 50% chance of making the playoffs. And bringing in the rear, this is kind of a tight race. Everybody's within 2 games of the top. My tight end Ertzwin Eifert is 3-4, and he has a 38% chance to make the playoffs. Now, in the West, this is what you're happy about over here, Rayo.
Yep.
Rayo has a 5-2 record, topping the standings in the West. He has a 94% chance of making the playoffs. Look at that.
I just got to not do what I did this week for the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, you've lost 2 in a row, so you're well on your way to not making the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I've learned my lesson, so we'll be back on top in no time.
And
I mean, I'm still on top, but we'll stay on top.
There you go. In second place, we have Chad with Deshaun's Happy Endings at 4-3. He has an 80% chance to make the playoffs. Andrew Courts, Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba, also at 4-3 here, tied for second in the West. He has a 50% chance of making the playoffs. Not too good. Ain't No Waller Back Girl is coming in fourth here with a 2-5 record. Not looking so hot over here, and he has a 52% chance to make the playoffs.
This and he's
2 games behind Andrew in the standings.
Yeah.
Then, bringing up the rearest of the rear, Team IR, which is aptly named, is 0-7 and has a 1% chance of making the playoffs.
Hey, there's still a chance?
So you're saying it's
exactly. So I'm just taking a glance through the standings here and kind of the points for and stuff here. I kind of feel bad for Neil. I don't think I've ever said that in my life. Well, I have, but most of the time. I mean, that means he's not. I'm the highest points for. But this is the second highest points for, and just has a horrible record over there. That's unfortunate.
I mean, that's probably part of the reason why he's still got a 52% chance of making.
I assume that's the case here.
That is kind of rough. I mean, it is surprising. I mean, I guess all you have to do is not make it in the bottom 4.
Yep.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
and I guess technically he's solidly in the bottom 4 right now. But yeah, I mean, with the way things are going, he's got a pretty decent team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it looks like he's lost some tight games essentially, and I think one game he got like blown out, like a single game, he got blown out. But like other than that, like I think all of his matchups have been relatively tight. So it's unfortunate. Like this week he lost by 1 point, 1.5 points. So yeah, he's been some solid weeks, but
this is a less insightful take, but I like that there are home and away games that this has listed. I don't know what advantage or disadvantage or anything that does for you, but that's interesting.
Team knows to play better when they're at home.
Right. I send more DMs to my players when I'm at home.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, actually, you know what? It was Neil that had that 1 week where he scored like 180 fantasy points. That's why his.
That's probably part of where it's coming from.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll give you the high points for, that's for sure. All right, let's keep her moving here. We got my favorite part segment every single week. We have the waiver wire team that would kick all of our asses. Now we've got in the quarterback slot, we've got Tua Tagovailoa. I believe I said that right.
I don't know. I think you did.
Maybe I did. 26.54 fantasy points. He has been pretty good the last couple weeks. But now it looks like they're trying to trade for Deshaun Watson. So who knows? In the running back positions, running back 1, we got Brandon Bolden with 16.9 fantasy points. Running back 2, another New England running back. So all 3 New England running backs had great weeks this week. They scored 57.
Yeah, 57 points. Let's hear.
Yeah,
spread some
ball quite a bit. JJ Taylor put up 15.1 fantasy points. In the wide receiver slots, we got Russell Gage with 14.7 fantasy points and Khalif Raymond with 14.6 fantasy points. It's your namesake. It might be worth the pickup there, Rayo.
Just because of the name.
Yeah, I mean it's close. It's not exactly your namesake.
I mean close is good.
Close is good. At the tight end spot, we got CJ Uzomah with 22.6 fantasy points. In the flex, we have another tight end, Foster Moreau for the Bills, I believe. No, not the Bills. They were not playing this week. He used to play for the Bills, though. I don't know who Foster Moreau plays for.
I don't either.
He had 15 fantasy points. And then the Giants had 17. The defense had 17 fantasy points. And the kicker was Austin Siebert with 15 fantasy points. And this team would have put up 157.44 fantasy points. Now, like I was saying, and like I alluded to earlier in the week, Chad put up 156.66 fantasy points.
Really good week.
If you had thrown Hunter Henry in your tight end spot, you could have beaten the waiver wire and been the 3rd team to do so this year. Unfortunately, you did not, and now the waivers are 5-2 for the year. So, congratulations to the waiver wire. Once again, you have destroyed us all, and you would be at the top of one of our divisions in fantasy football.
Yep.
All right, on to next week's matchups. Are you ready, Rayo, for the matchup predictions for next week?
I'm pulling up the matchups right now. So I can look at them.
Sounds good. Last week I was 3 for 5, and I beat Brandon, who was only 1 for 5. So now you guys are 1-2 against me this year in our 4 weeks where we have done this little matchup predictions segment. So on to matchup number 1. We have Owen Tree versus Deshaun's Happy Endings. Now this should be a good matchup. We got 2 good teams facing against each other. We have let's go down through Deshaun's Happy Endings here. We got DeAndre Swift against Philadelphia. Now, DeAndre Swift is questionable. Is he hurt? Oh, he's got a groin issue. Continue to manage his groin injury. That's been going on for a while, so he should be okay to go. He's got Devin Singletary versus Miami, which doesn't look great, but that might actually be a good matchup for Devin Singletary. CeeDee Lamb versus Minnesota. Cooper Kupp versus Houston. Oof. That might be a monster game for Cooper Kupp. Then again, that might be a rushing game for the Rams in general. So we'll see. Sometimes those teams like the Jets and Houston don't give up a bunch of points to the wide receiver because they're just running the ball all, and they
you get a lead and you just hand it off.
Exactly. He's got Kyle Pitts versus Carolina, and Carolina's a good defense, so we'll see. Devonta Smith versus Detroit. Once again, that's a good matchup. We got the Patriots D versus the Chargers. We'll see. The Chargers are pretty good. And Graham Gano versus Kansas City. On the other hand, we've got my team, Tom Brady versus New Orleans. James Robinson versus Seattle. That should be a good matchup. Jonathan Taylor versus Tennessee. I'm feeling pretty good about that. DJ Moore versus Atlanta. That's a smash matchup. People are destroying Atlanta through the air. A.J. Brown versus the Colts. That should be a good matchup. Robert Tonyan versus Arizona. I only grabbed Robert Tonyan off the waiver wire because there's nobody else in to throw the ball to. We have Brandon Cooks versus the Rams right now in my flex spot. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to throw anybody else in there. I don't really have anybody else on the bench that I'd like to put in instead of him. But Brandon Cooks has been solid. He's the only guy out of Houston that's worth anything. Then we got the Bengals against the Jets this week, which
That's
I
a
feel
good choice.
Gonna be a smash. And it's a backup. It's Joe Flacco. Oh no, Joe Flacco's not starting. It's Mike White starting for the Jets this week because Zach Wilson is out.
That sounds reassuring to me. Hey, you never know. This might be his breakout game. Might show everyone what he's made of.
Right. And then I have Tyler Bass versus.
You pick first, or I pick first?
I'm always picking me in these matchups.
Yeah. So I think I'm looking at it. I'm thinking here it is going to be a close game for sure, right? You guys both have solid teams, 4-3. It's an important game for both of you guys. I think I'm gonna really have to back my earlier statement and pick you here as well.
I'm gonna win here.
I hope you win just this week and then continue losing after that.
Sounds good. I like the sound of that. We're gonna go.
You like the sound of continuing to losing after that?
Oh no! I ignored the
sure.
Sentence.
Okay.
I just heard the me winning this week.
Okay.
Of that. So moving on to the next matchup, we have Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba versus my tight end Ertzwin Eifert. Now we'll see if we get an updated team out of Aaron this week. Usually he at least changes his lineup around in case somebody is missing.
Yep.
So we've got Marquis Brown, who's currently on bye in the flex. But other than that, he's got Jalen Hurts versus Detroit, and the Jalen Hurts Miles Sanders stack up versus Detroit. And like we said, Miles Sanders might be out this week.
It looks like he is. He's projected at 0, so
unlikely to play. So we've also got Javonte Williams versus Washington, DK Metcalf versus Jacksonville. That should be good. Although he still has Geno Smith as his quarterback, so we'll see. Tyreek Hill versus the Giants and Travis Kelce versus the Giants. Those will be good. The Broncos versus Washington might be a good matchup.
Who's throwing to Tyreek and Kelce now?
I think it'll be Mahomes. I think
Yeah, that's true.
As far as I'm aware, he did not go. He's got out.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, he got out of the concussion. He passed the concussion protocol during the game.
Okay. All right.
So
cool.
They just didn't put him back in because they were down by 25 minutes.
Probably a reasonable choice anyway. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, on the other side, we got Josh Allen versus Miami. Should be a smash matchup. I think this is going to be an easy easy win here for Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba, to be honest. I think we got Josh Allen. Darrell Henderson versus Houston is going to be a smash matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Chubb versus Pittsburgh may be tough, and we'll see if Nick Chubb is playing. But he's got Dearness Johnson in case Nick Chubb doesn't play. He's got Robert Woods versus Houston. He's got Chase Claypool versus Cleveland. Dallas Goedert versus Detroit. Chuba Hubbard versus Atlanta. And the Rams D versus Houston. And Matt Gay versus Houston. All those players versus Houston. You got half the Rams D or Rams team on your team.
Mm-hmm. Jeez, what, 4? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got one more on the bench too if he really wants to make it a good time.
There you go. Well, yeah, I think this is for Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba.
Unfortunately for me, I have to agree with you. I don't think there's a lot of there's really a reasonable direction to go otherwise. So.
Yeah.
So I think we're both on Chubba Hubba.
I think so. Yeah, I was just trying to see if he doesn't really have anybody on the. He'll throw in Adam Thielen instead of Marquis Brown, but he just doesn't have the running backs.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. See, I don't think the draft him and don't touch him is going to work this year for Aaron.
For Aaron. That's because Aaron doesn't DM his players every week.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to.
You got to make sure they're motivated.
Good. Exactly.
I know how much NFL players care about fantasy football.
So. Oh, they love fantasy football. Yeah. Every single one of them do. All right, on to matchup number 3. We have Waddle, baby Waddle, baby Waddle, baby Waddle versus Ain't No Waddle Back Girl. This is the matchup of songs, my man.
Yeah. I like.
Yeah, so we've got on Waddle Baby, we've got Kyler Murray versus Green Bay. That should be a good game. Joe Mixon versus the Jets. We have Cordero Patterson versus Carolina. That might be tough. Julio Jones versus the Colts. Jamar Chase versus the Jets. Noah Fant versus Washington. Antonio Gibson versus Denver. The Falcons D versus Carolina. Might have to change that up. And then Matt Prater versus Green Bay. And on his bench, he's got Jalen Waddle for some reason. I might throw him in instead of, I don't know. I would probably throw him in instead of Antonio Gibson. Or Kadarius Toney. Well, Kadarius Toney might not play this week. I don't know. Well, let's see. I mean, there should be. You should get some good games from Kyler Murray, from Jamar Chase probably, and Mixon. So those 3 might be able to carry your team to a victory. Ain't no Waller back girl. He just doesn't have Dalvin Cook in his lineup yet. So he's got Cook on the bench. Go up instead of Devontae Booker.
Yep.
Or James Conner. Terry McLaurin should play. I think he's questionable, but he's a hamstring injury. And Debo was probably playing. Darren Waller's out. He's gonna have to figure out the defense. And he's got Tyler Higbee. He's got Aaron Rodgers. We'll have to see if Aaron Rodgers put up a good week this week. I think it's up in the air whether or not he'll be able to without his 2 top throwing options. But the combination of Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook should be able to carry you to, some good matchups for sure. I don't know. Who are you thinking in this one?
I'm thinking Neil's luck is going to continue to be bad, so I'm going to take Benai on this one.
All right.
Again, I think it's going to be close, so I'm just going with the...
I think it's going to be tough to go against this is why Neil's team is probably projected to go to the playoffs, is because he has Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook on his team. And that's my fault because I traded it to him. But I also took Jonathan Taylor and Brandon Cooks away from him, so I don't feel too bad about it. Yeah, I think he might have, as much as I would love to say Aaron Rodgers is going to have a great week this week, despite having his two top pass catchers out, I think he's going to have a tough time getting good points. I think they're going to try to lean on the run a little bit more, and I think you're not going to be able to overcome that mismatch between Kyler and Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Waddle Baby as well. No. I have to that's why I have to pick something different than you.
There we go.
It's gonna be a close matchup.
Yeah.
I'll go with Ain't No Waller Back Girl. All right, yeah, we got to be different because we can't tie.
Yeah, we got to have at least one
ties already. Yeah. Because we all know who we're gonna pick in this next matchup. We have Ferris Bueller, You're My Hero, YOUR, versus Team IR.
I don't know. This is real challenge of a pick here. We should go through. I think we need to go through all the players first.
You want to go through all the players? All right. We'll start with Team IR. Sam Darnold versus Atlanta. Then we have Khalil Herbert versus San Francisco, who, to be fair, Khalil Herbert has been really good. Damian Harris also has been pretty good. He's against the Chargers. Calvin Ridley versus Carolina. We have Justin Jefferson versus Dallas. That should probably be good. Tyler Conklin also versus Dallas. Don't do that, man.
I'm sorry, dude. I can't help it.
For some reason, he's got Michael Thomas in, even though he's projected for points, but he's still weeks away from playing. I'm pretty sure he hasn't even practiced yet.
It definitely says out.
Yeah,
right there. So I don't.
He's projected for points, so.
I like that he's projected for points and projected to win the flex advantage.
The flex matchup, yeah. And then we have the Seahawks D versus Jacksonville. That should be okay. And then Jason Myers versus Jacksonville. On the other hand, we've got Patrick Mahomes versus the Giants. That should be
good.
Yeah. Aaron Jones versus Arizona, which might be tough, actually. But Najee Harris versus Cleveland. One thing you know about Najee Harris is he's going to get a bunch of work. He's a workhorse, that's for sure. We have Chris Godwin versus New Orleans, which, with Antonio Brown out now. I'm sorry, for potentially another few weeks. I think Chris Godwin has a chance to play much better in general. And we have Cortland Sutton versus Washington, which should be pretty good matchup. Ricky Seals-Jones versus Denver on the other side of the ball there. We have Marvin Jones versus Seattle, and the Buccaneers D versus New Orleans, and Younghoe Koo, of course.
Versus Carolina. The most important part of the team.
Yes, of course. So I'm going to go with James's team here.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with James's team here.
Sorry, Brandon, but,
Yeah.
You're playing for draft picks next year. Or the chance to get the top draft pick. Although that has really helped people here recently.
Yeah. Well, random is random at the end of the day, right? So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got the first pick. I got Dalvin Cook with it. And to be honest, I was kind of dissatisfied, but I also only had him for 4 or 5 weeks. So
something like that.
Yeah. But all right, on to the last matchup for next week. And for you, it's the most important matchup of the week.
That it is.
We have Rock the Hawk, or potentially Hawk the Hawk, versus,
or potentially some other name,
or potentially the Hawk Strap, versus Hot Digsity Dog. So we'll start with your team.
Actually, has Hawkinson now.
It's a revenge game for TJ Hawkinson.
That's a good point.
You better change your team name before the weekend, or else Hawkinson is going to exact his revenge upon your team. So right now you need to fill in your wide, or you did. Wait, you said you did. Wait, where's your new quarterback?
Should be there.
Oh, I haven't refreshed this in a half hour.
I'm surprised it's not there.
Yeah, I hadn't refreshed it. I've had it. There you go. Daniel Jones versus Kansas City. That is a good fill-in quarterback for this week. We got Myles Gaskin versus Buffalo. That's going to be rough, man. I know Myles Gaskin's going to be getting more work.
We got some stuff to move around before the week starts. So.
Oh, that's true. You still don't have Alvin Kamara in your lineup, so Alvin Kamara will be in your lineup instead.
Yes,
we got Leonard Fournette, who's been solid versus New Orleans. Also, you got the running back wide receiver stack as well. You have Mike Evans versus New Orleans. T. Higgins versus the Jets should be a good matchup.
Take anything versus the Jets.
Exactly. As they showed last week. We got Gronk versus New Orleans. You got 3 teams on Tampa Bay on your team, or 3 players from Tampa Bay on your team.
Good point.
And the old Hopkins from Green Bay. Now, I'm going to give you a huge boost here when you're moving stuff around. Number 1, move stuff around before tomorrow night.
Yep.
Number 2, DeAndre Hopkins out of that flex spot. Boy. Yep. And then you got the Bills D versus Miami. You might win just on that matchup alone. The Bills D versus Miami. And then Harrison Butker. Although Miami has been better recently, but I don't know. The Bills D is still one of those.
I believe in the Bills D.
Yeah. On the other side of this matchup, we got Dak Prescott versus Minnesota. We've got Austin Eckler versus New England. We've got Zeke versus Minnesota. Both of those plays against Minnesota should be pretty decent. Eckler versus New England might be tougher. Their defense has been better. We've got Stephon Diggs versus Miami. He's trying to offset your Bills defense there with Stephon Diggs versus Miami. He's got Keenan Allen against New England. He's got T.J. Hockenson versus Philadelphia in the T.J. Hockenson revenge game. Darrell Henderson versus the Giants, and the Cardinals D versus Green Bay. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, I guess with Green Bay's all their offensive weapons gone, that might be a good start. Normally playing anybody against Green Bay isn't a recipe for success, but in this case,
what happens.
Let's see. With Alvin Kamara in, you're probably throwing Mike Williams back in there too, huh? Instead of T. Higgins. Mike Williams is against the New England. And you'll probably throw in Jared Cook instead.
Feels likely.
Unless Gronk plays. You have some. I'd have to see your.
What are you looking for?
No, I just have to see your team with
okay.
in the lineup. But
I'm making life difficult for you, Jason.
You are. I think this is going to be a tight matchup. Actually, it should be pretty good.
Yep.
Because some of Adam's team has kind of some matchups.
Adam's got a solid team with some good matchups. So
he has some good matchups and some tough matchups. You also have some of both. I don't know. Are you picking you? Obviously,
yeah, I'm picking me.
You're picking you.
You can't. I mean, you can't go into a week and not pick yourself. Has anyone done that yet this year?
Yeah, Adam predicted against himself, and he was right. So
I guess that's good, but
yeah, of course you're going to be right. You have no confidence in your team.
Exactly. You know you're
not DMing his team.
You know your players watch those podcasts, right? If you're going to go on the podcast and say you're going to lose, I mean, how are you going to do that?
I know. Yeah, I mean, can't imagine why you would ever vote against yourself, but I don't know. As much as I hate to say it, I might have to go against you as well in this matchup. I think I'm going to go with Hot Digsity Dog.
Do you hate to say it that much, Jason?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Plus,
that's fine.
That will, since I'm going to win this week.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That'll make us all 5-3. And so we're all going to be sitting around near the top of all of the brackets. So we'll see. I mean, we did pick Waddle Baby No, you picked Waddle Baby. I picked Waddle Baby to lose,
Yep.
which would put him also at 5-3. So, if you and Benaya lose this week, we could all be hanging around there at 5-3.
Yeah, but I don't like that.
Grand old time.
I don't like that. So I'd like myself to be 6-2. It'll be better. It'll be better overall.
All right, on to I think what's becoming my second favorite segment of the podcast, mostly because of this amazing drop that I made. So, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Mail time. Woo!
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
I love that drop. All right, so we've got the mailbag, and we have 2 questions this week. Question number one is who are, from Benaya, of course, who are the top 5 most useless rostered players? Now, I did not do it. I said I was going to do.
I
look
didn't
through this as I was. But I do have one of my top 5 for sure, and that's Allen Robinson this year. Unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, Allen Robinson is a useless rostered player.
That's why he's not on your roster.
That's why he's no longer on my roster. I finally got rid of him. Let's see. I'd say my backup kicker, Randy Bullock, is a useless rostered player.
That's probably a fair point.
I only have him there because Jerry Jeudy is soon going to be activated off the IR, and I'm going to kick him off.
Makes sense. I think another one in the same vein is probably James still having Chris Boswell as his backup kicker.
Yeah.
I think as we discussed earlier, I think I guess I don't know how I feel about Sam Darnold being up there.
Oh, he's definitely up there as a useless roster player.
I don't know about top 5 useless roster players, but certainly up there.
It's probably up there. I mean, we are one QB league, and there's, like I said,
there's better QBs
on the waiver wire that are better to play than him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say he's there. OBJ might be getting close.
Might be. Man, that's sad.
I know. He's had a rough time.
Yep. It's the boat.
I think we just have to look at Team IR and just list off his team.
Oh, that's harsh.
Jamal Williams is on that list too. Unfortunately, I love Jamal Williams, man, but unfortunately, he's not been doing great in fantasy this year. David Johnson, I think, is on that list.
Yeah.
He was just added to Benaya's team because of the Mark Ingram news. He also just added Mark Ingram. Wait. Yeah. No, he added him. Oh, he re-added him last week. He's been on and off of Benaya's team for 3 times this year.
Benaya, you're not inspiring confidence in your players. You gotta keep them.
Drop them like that. That's why they suck.
They know you don't have buy-in, so why would they have buy-in? You know.
Exactly. Yeah. Trying to see if anybody else. Will Fuller, maybe. Although there's potential that he comes back and does all right.
How do we feel about the fact that the Falcons D is rostered and starting right now?
Yeah, they might be there. I haven't been looking at starting lineups, but maybe I should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of looking through, and the Falcons defense is ranked at 28. We're a 10-team league with one defense.
Yeah. They had an okay matchup last week, but even in an okay matchup, you can't really play the Falcons defense.
Yeah. They have not scored above 10 points the whole year. They have 2 games with negative points. I don't know.
Yeah. I would say they're not worth rostering. Yeah, I think that's 5. I think
we've got a couple more than 5.
Yeah.
I think if we would prep more, we probably could have trash talked some more through the segment.
That's probably true. Yeah.
I think this was better.
I think that was good. Yeah, just improv.
Yep.
Improv trash talking. All right. On to the final question of the week from Neil. Why do we have staggered start times on Sundays?
Well, I think the most reasonable statement here is, in the event that that a player started a game and got traded within like the first 5 minutes, they could, if the game the other game happens to be regional, if it was like a Washington game and like a Baltimore game, they could get in the car and get there, in time.
By at least the second half.
Yeah, exactly. If you didn't have the staggered start times, it'd probably be third quarter by the time you got there, and don't third quarter done. That would be kind of useless. So
exactly. I don't have a better answer. I don't know what I was gonna say. Yeah, I mean, obviously the most realistic is, now that red zone is so popular, probably to make it so that there's no gap in red zone screen time, so that everybody's at halftime at the same time. But yeah, I mean, that was a good answer, Rayo.
Thanks.
I liked your very serious and non-made-up answer.
I think the other reason is clearly probably they knew that some people were gonna not realize their staggered start times and just look, it's a late game, and decide it's 3:25.
Exactly, and say like, I could pick up a backup tight end and throw him in before the game
like 3:07, and realize later that that's not viable. And I think the NFL really thinks about that and goes, those suckers.
They really keep their fantasy football viewers in mind when they're doing things like this.
This is what Roger Goodell is doing.
That's what he's all about, man.
How can I screw over those fantasy owners?
Well, Rayo, I had a wonderful time with you this week.
It was great.
It couldn't have been better. I'm very much looking forward to our matchups this week. As always, as you said earlier in the podcast, you hope I win. I hope you lose.
Standard stuff.
I hope the rest of y'all lose while I win this week. That would be the ideal scenario. It would be 9 losses and a single win. But unfortunately, we need 5 wins and 5 losses in this league to make it run. So
really, what I'm hoping is that that the people that are like 1 game back from me lose while I win. So then there's a 2-game gap, and it'll be better for everyone involved, because when I'm happy, everyone's happy. So that's
right.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I'm hoping that you and Benaya lose this week, because you guys are the 2 that are 1 game in front of me.
We would have, if that happens, where are we? League home, where are the full standings? I think we'd have.
One of them would require a win by Adam.
Right.
Require a win by me.
With Adam winning and you winning, are you playing Benaya? No, you're not.
No. Actually, it doesn't require a win by me. I'm playing against said Chad. But
okay, with if Adam wins and you win and Benaya loses, we'll have 5 of us at 5-3. So half the league will be at the same record.
Hey, I'm all about the competitive leagues, man.
Hey, I mean, we've got some good parity. So
yeah, I think so. It's been good this year. We don't have like. I mean, it looked like at the beginning you were going to be that team that just like started running away with it, but now things are starting to even out a little bit more. So I think that's good. It makes it more for a fun league, and especially down the
good.
year with playoffs. So
parity is always good. Yep. So
good. So all right, y'all. Well, it was great being on here. Benaya, like I said, loved having you, and we are going to be doing this every week. So
who you love having on?
I love having you on. I love having everybody
all right.
on.
Gotcha.
Did I say something wrong?
No, you're good.
Oh, you just wanted to hear it again?
No, you said, I'm pretty sure you said Benaya loved having you, so I want to.
I think I said,
Oh, okay, all right.
Having you on, yeah.
Gotcha.
Or maybe I said that.
Maybe you said but, yeah, I don't know. I heard Benaya, and I was like, I mean, we had a question.
I would also love having you on this podcast.
we had a mailbag question from Benaya, so
we did. I loved having Benaya on the podcast. His mailbag question, but All right, boys. Well, you guys enjoy the week. I will catch you guys next week. Deuces.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.